On Talking with Dr. Donna, we focus on 4 pillars of health to help build a generational health network to end the cycle of premature death in the Black community. I created Talking with Dr. Donna as a way to educate as many people as possible and give accurate information from a trusted physician. Go to Talking with Dr. Donna and get accurate information. And then share that information with your family and friends. And if you like what you see, like my channel and subscribe. Remember, every Thursday, keep your appointment with Dr. Donna. I'm good? Yeah. Okay. Hi out there. Can you hear me? Hi, Cynthia. Good evening. Welcome. Okay, so we are trying to do something different today. So we're streaming just on YouTube tonight. And so I want, if you are not watching on YouTube, or if you could do me a favor for you on YouTube, share this over to tag me to my Facebook page. Let's see if we can do that. If someone can tag me over to my Facebook page, that would be awesome. You know, technology is wonderful until it's not. So bear with us. We do have an excellent show, an excellent guest, and so I want to make sure we have ample time to visit and hear from our guest today. I call her Reverend Tammy, but she's Reverend Tammy Denyse. We're going to talk about you are not a superwoman, and particularly when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, there is a phenomenon that happens for Black women, and we're going to discuss what that phenomenon is tonight and how we can avoid that, not just in the diagnosis of breast cancer, but in so many other aspects. So hopefully we're able to get over to other folks and share what we're doing tonight. So as you know, this is Talking with Dr. Donna. I am your host, Dr. Donna White Carrie, and I appreciate you being here. Tonight, or October, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I know you see all the pink around, and you probably know that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but Breast Cancer Awareness Month has a special place in my heart for me, and that's because I have several family members who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So I have to start the month off by giving honor to my mom, Donna Mae Scott White, who was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 77, which was just absolutely mind-boggling to us. But she was. And so we're going to talk about this month. We're going to talk about some of the myths around breast cancer. We're going to talk about some of the things in terms of screenings that you can make sure that you do to keep yourself and your family safe. But I just want to pay homage to my mother. I often do not, go back one more slide, often do not talk about her diagnosis and what, you know, ultimately led to her passing. But I think it's important that we do recognize that there are things in our family. And so for my mom, it was breast cancer, but her memory is still with me. She's gone but not forgotten. I love her dearly. And so to you, Mom, I'm giving you honor and love tonight. I also, prior to my mother's diagnosis, was the diagnosis of 2 of my aunts. So I love this picture because this is a picture of my grandmother and my 4 aunts. And 3 out of the 4 little kids in this picture had breast cancer. So my Aunt Darlene, which is the one on the bottom, well, she's bottom to my right, had breast cancer. She had breast cancer first. She was diagnosed at the age of 39. Actually was diagnosed at the age of 36, died at the age of 39, and this was way back in the 80s before all of the great treatments that we have now. And by the time she realized that she had breast cancer, it was too late to provide any treatment. And so to my Aunt Darlene, I love you, Auntie, passing from breast cancer. And then my Aunt Leona, who is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. She is still alive and kicking, and is such a joy and a treat. But in my family, as you can see, we have diagnosis of breast cancer. I have a cousin who's currently in the process of going through her journey for breast cancer. So as you can see, breast cancer is near and dear to my heart, and I want to make sure that we are all aware of what we can do to help to prevent ourselves from getting breast cancer. And if we do get breast cancer, more importantly, what do we do to help treat it? So with no further ado, of course, for my channel, Talking with Dr. Donna, my goal is to end the cycle of premature death in the Black community, whether that premature death is from cancer, whether it's from diabetes, whether it's from heart disease. My goal is to end the cycle of premature death in the Black community in the United States and across the diaspora. And we do this by building generational health. And what is generational health? Generational health is if I make a change to this generation and then that generation makes a change, we can alter the biology of our systems to make an impact for better health for the next 4 generations, just with our little change that we have today. So there's 4 pillars of health in our generational health. And if we pay attention to each of these 4 pillars, I firmly believe that we can end the cycle of premature death. So we have physical pillar of health, our emotional and mental pillar of health, our spiritual pillar of health, and our environmental pillar of health. And if we pay attention to these 4 pillars, I strongly believe that we can end the cycle of premature death in our community. Okay? So as always, we are live, so thank you for keeping your appointment. If you have any questions for Reverend Tammy, please put them in the chat. We're going to hopefully get to answer some questions, because tonight we're going to talk about You Are Not a Superwoman with Reverend Tammy Denyse. So you might be saying, who is Reverend Tammy? And I just want to ask you all again, if you can share your page to your Facebook page, or even tag me on my Facebook page to share the YouTube channel over to your Facebook pages, that would be amazing. Okay, so let's go back to the slide with Reverend Tammy. And before I bring her on, though, I want to just talk really quickly about some breast cancer statistics. So I think it's important for you to know where we are in breast cancer in terms of who gets it, but who dies. Again, focusing on not having our community die prematurely. So when you look at the rates of breast cancer, you'll see that there's something that happens that's kind of odd. The incidence of breast cancer was what we call the incidence, which means the number of people who are diagnosed with the disease and what that number is. The highest numbers of incidence of breast cancer are in white people, okay? White women. White women get diagnosed with breast cancer more often than Black women. But when you look at the rates of death for who is dying from breast cancer, Black women die at a higher rate than white women. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that is, and what we can do about it, what you can do about it, and what I hope you will learn tonight that you will share with your family about what we can do about it. Yes, hi Carmen. Thank you for keeping your appointment. All right, so let me introduce my guest tonight, Reverend Tammy Denyse. She has been navigating trauma personally and professionally for more than 40 years. She uses the intersections of faith, education, and her life experiences as a heart-centered approach to healing and wellness. She is the co-founder and president of Carrie's Touch, which is a breast cancer organization that was established to enrich the lives of Black American women diagnosed with breast cancer. She is an 18-year breast cancer survivor. Let's give it up for Reverend Tammy. Woo, woo. 18-year breast cancer survivor, and she has spent the last 15 years coaching cancer patients and families through the trauma of the cancer diagnosis, the treatment, and then how to re-enter after the journey of cancer. She's also a researcher. She is an expert in the field of breast cancer, and she is the co-principal investigator for Project SOAR. And SOAR stands for Speaking Our African American Realities. SOAR, Speaking Our African American Realities. And she's in partnership with UCLA, my alma mater, to look at examining the unique experiences of Black American women who are diagnosed with breast cancer. We're going to talk about Project SOAR tonight and some of the amazing work she's doing and what she's finding so far. She is also an author. She has a book called The Power of Hope, Reclaiming Your Life After Tragedy, which tells the story of how she daily navigates the murky waters of trauma, grief, and loss. She has a degree in Human and Community Services from St. Mary's College. She has a Master's of Divinity and a Master in Community Leadership. Just in case you're wondering what the heck are all these little initials behind her name, that means education, okay? This is an educated Black woman. She has a Master of Divinity and a Master in Community Leadership from American Baptist Seminary, and she is a Master Group Facilitator. She also has a distinguished honorary doctor degree of philosophy in business administration and entrepreneurship from Trinity International University of Ambassadors. So she lives in Sacramento, has 3 adult children, and the grandmother of 2. She's got full life. And she took time out to keep her appointment today with each of you to be on Talking with Dr. Donna. So let's bring in Reverend Tammy Denyse. Woo! Hello, Reverend Tammy.
Hello, Dr. Donna. You're so funny. You weren't supposed to read all that.
Well, I did not read everything, so that just tells you how wonderful you are, because I only read a portion of your bio. So welcome to Talking with Dr. Donna.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. You're girl, so I'm fangirling right now. Right? I'm like, oh my God, Dr. Donna called. I gotta go. So it's incredible.
Well, you do a wonderful.
You.
Yeah, thank you. You do wonderful and amazing work. I just have to share this story before we actually start talking. So as I've mentioned, and as many of you know, my cousin is currently in a cancer journey. And when I found out she was diagnosed with breast cancer, probably the first non-family member that I called was you, Reverend Tammy. I called you and I said, listen, my cousin is going through the journey, and I cannot think of anybody else that I want to walk through this journey with her than you. Wow. And last week, she called me so excited because you showed up at her home in a limousine with some flowers and balloons and just celebrating her, even though she's not finished with her journey, but just celebrating her going through this journey. And when I tell you, she was so happy, you picked up her spirits and she was just elated. And it really, really made a difference in how she was feeling, because chemotherapy is no joke.
Yeah,
and she wasn't feeling great, but seeing you step out of that limousine looking all beautiful and just being excited just made her day. So I wanted to publicly thank you, Reverend Tammy, for making sure that my family member is taken care of. I appreciate you.
Oh, to God be the glory. I mean, honestly, this is a calling, and that's what this pink hair is about. It is really advocating for women like your cousin, who, in moments of battling cancer, she can't fight for herself the way that I can on the
Right.
other side of it. And I remember when I was going through treatment and the little things that people did for us, and that's called our Celebration of Life tour. And most often, Dr. Donna, when you hear that
Mm,
term celebration of life, where are you? At a funeral, a memorial service.
right.
And I,
Right.
right? And so with the numbers with Black women dying, I said, you know what? We are going to start celebrating walking, talking, living, breathing, moving miracles today and
Yes.
give them their flowers while
Yes.
they can smell them. So I am so glad that our intention was received the way that we wanted it to be able to lift her spirits, to let her know that she's not alone, she's not forgotten, and we're in this fight with her.
Well, thank you. She felt it. She felt your love, and I certainly appreciate it. Um, so, the reason I called you is because you have this great organization called Carrie's Touch. Tell us a little bit about Carrie's Touch and the services that you provide.
Yeah, so Carrie, if I may, Dr. Donna, I'll go back just a little bit and start with my own
Sure.
personal journey. We get to
Yes.
celebrate that I am an 18-year breast cancer survivor by the grace of God, by a phenomenal medical team and a tribe that just would not stop giving. So,
Mm,
but when I was going through the journey, I could not find anything that was going to give me hope and tell me that women that look like
mm,
me could live. The first
mm,
information that my oncologist gave me was Black women die at approximately 41% higher rates than white women of this disease. And B, I was unlikely to reach 5 years, that coveted 5-year survivorship mark. I was 39 years old. I was a single mom. I had
mm,
3 children at home, 10 and 11-year-old boys and a 17-year-old daughter. And I wanted to live, but when I Googled, 18 years ago, when I Googled Black women and breast cancer, it was grim on the internet.
mm,
So I couldn't find support. There was no talking with Dr. Donna. There was no people that were forward and outwardly fighting for women that look like me, look like you, look like this audience, right? So my
mm,
late
mhm,
sister and I said, we're not going to complain about it. We're going to do something about it. And so as a result, we began Carrie's Touch so that we could be that voice for women that look like us, who could not, would not, and didn't know how to fight for themselves. We get to go into, the offices of legislators and policymakers and so on and so forth. Women will never get that opportunity, and we get to go and
mm.
represent them, right? I,
Yes.
a big secret is that I don't like pink. it's not it's not a secret at all. It's not a secret at all. But I don't like pink. But this October, I said enough is enough. When I started to look at the statistics again, and according to the American Cancer Society, their cancer facts and figures from 2019, it still showed that Black women die at 41% higher rates. And so I'm like, wait, the needle hasn't moved. So enough is enough.
Mhm,
So two things. People ask me about the pink hair, then they'll ask me about what is in the 41%. And that's what Carrie's Touch is about. Carrie's Touch is about advocating on behalf of those who need it most, and then direct services like we provide to you, we get to provide to your cousin. Because guess what? We get these diagnoses, if we get a big old binder to go home that is way too much for anybody to try to comprehend when they're going through cancer. And we get a chance to sit down in intimate moments and quiet moments and hold their hands and navigate this thing with them. And there's no question that's too dumb. There's no question that we are not willing to answer. And so, as I'm speaking to a licensed medical professional, I just want to let your audience know that I am not a licensed medical professional. I do not have a license to give any medical advice, and anything that I share from my personal experience and from the women who I get to journey with, like your cousin.
mm,
So
mhm.
that is in a nutshell who Carrie's Touch is. I mean, we're 16 years old, so we've had a lot of life over that 16 years, but that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that is amazing. And shout out to our mutual friend, Shonda Scott, who
Yeah.
introduced us. I don't know how many years ago. It feels like over a decade ago that
I'm
we
sure
met.
that it was. Yeah.
Yeah, at her Pink Access and Lavender event that's actually coming up October 13th. So thank you, Shonda, for introducing us.
Yes.
So I love your pink hair, by the way. You're rocking it. Okay. Not very many people can rock pink hair, but you
Well,
look great.
well, I don't know, but people will remember that lady with the pink hair.
Right. So you talked a little bit about your own journey with
Yeah.
cancer and advocating, and we've talked about Project SOAR. So what special challenges do you see that Black women face when they're diagnosed with breast cancer that maybe is not universal for all women diagnosed with breast cancer?
Ooh, Dr. Donna, how much time do we have? So I'll go back into Project SOAR a little bit. You introduced the project. What you didn't tell the folks is that you are one of our community advisory members, and you have worked with us on the project, helping us to be able to effectively conduct the different type of research that we do with Project SOAR, right? People think about research, they think about clinicians, sterile environments,
Yes.
research that doesn't connect to them, that doesn't relate to them. They can't understand it. They don't see themselves, and so on and so forth. And Project SOAR is 100% opposite of all of that. For example,
Yes.
we do 4-hour gatherings versus 90-minute focus groups. And the gatherings, as you know, are culturally curated. So it's black, 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 blackity, black, black, black from the moment you walk through the door until the moment you leave the door. And that is intentional, right? Because we
Yes.
see ourselves, and our community faces a history of trauma and atrocities with the medical community, at
Yes.
the hands of saying, let us trust you to do this research on you. And so we are trying
Yes.
to change that, because I participated in a clinical trial, and I was angry, Dr. Donna, when my doctor told me that he said, you're young, we've got this clinical trial, it's going to give you an opportunity at the best care and the most latest treatment available. And I said, great, how are Black women responding to this trial? He says, I don't know. I said, unacceptable. You cannot come in this room and tell me you're offering me an opportunity to survive cancer and then tell me you don't know how it's impacting women that look like me. And so that's what we're doing in Project SOAR. And so if we peel back the layers of research, and now the buzzwords are patient-centered care and patient-centered pathways, and all of these things around the patient, but guess what's always missing in those equations? The patient. So we said we want to talk to Black women specifically, and we wanted to hear their voice and hear their experiences of how they actually navigated breast cancer. And we wanted to look specifically at the Superwoman syndrome, the Black Superwoman syndrome, right? Because we show up to be all things to all people all the time perfectly while suffering alone in silence, right? We're beautiful people. We put on all the stuff, to make us look good out in public. And in the midnight hour, when it's just us and our maker, we are trying to figure out what is next. And sometimes when you're diagnosed with cancer, it's, my God, why have you forsaken me? Trying to navigate, even your faith journey with God. I'm an ordained clergy woman, and I had questions for God because I prayed. The Bible says, go have the elders of the church lay hands on you if you're sick, and pray in faith and believe. And if you ask these things in my name, they will be granted unto you. And you still get a positive diagnosis for cancer. It takes some undoing to navigate all that. So in the research, we wanted to peel back the layers of those onions and see what's going on. And if you ask me, I did all of that. But if you ask me to put it in a word, it's trauma. It's unresolved trauma. Our community has decades, eons of just unresolved trauma. I mean, nobody wants to say, thank you, Lord, for a pandemic. But what I thank God for in 2020 is that it put mental wellness for Black folks on the table, that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to honestly take that mental health day and not, retire with 3 years worth of unused sick pay or what. That is just ridiculous. So enough is enough for us, especially as Black women. We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders every single day. And we get permission to say no. We get permission to tell our families that this is not okay. I don't feel well. I'm not cooking dinner tonight. I don't care if babies have cookies all, That's not an every night thing. I'm not promoting poor eating and poor health, but I am promoting the importance of acknowledging when you hit that wall, you have to say time out. So if you ask me, what do I think is part of it? That's one part of it. Systemic racism. Let's call a thing a thing. We are aligned with these healthcare systems that were never designed to save us. That's why when I see people like you, I thank you for your service. Because a thing that people don't acknowledge is what doctors go through, and especially doctors of color. My son just graduated from your alma mater, but medical school, and he's now in San Francisco doing his residency in anesthesiology. And I don't take away his opportunity to tell his journey. I will say this though, it was hard for this little Black boy who had a dream because he saw his mama fighting for life to help save other people's lives, and everything in the system was set up for him not to succeed, but B, not to succeed in a field where there aren't a lot of Blacks. There are not a lot of Blacks in anesthesiology. I can tell you that.
That's right. Yes.
So to see him fight for that because he had to come get his mama out of the bathroom when her bones and joints could not function as a result of chemotherapy treatment, to turn around and want to give back to the community. We've got to look at the system that is perpetuating some of these issues, right?
Yeah. Right.
We got to talk. We got to call a thing, and I probably have talked
exactly.
I'll give
no,
you.
No, that's good. That's good. We call that thing out all of the time on this show. That's what we call that thing a thing on a regular.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to this strong Black woman concept because I think it is so important, and it is life-saving for us as Black women because we do. I always say that we carry the community on our backs, right? Black women have been holding the community up because of so many systemic policies that have prevented the unity of the Black family, have prevented the man from being in the household. Some systems are in place to prevent that from happening. Nobody wants to see a unified Black family. And so as a result, they have done lots of things that make it difficult for the Black male to be as centered in the family and in our unit as we would like them to be. And so the strong Black woman has been there for centuries.
Right.
But there were some questions in your SOAR project that I really want to let people hear the types of questions, because it may help them to think about someone in their family who might be battling cancer or even some other chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
and the expectations that we put on the woman, right?
Yes.
You know, I say this all the time. If you know, the man is sick, everybody's rushing. Oh my God, you know, poor you. They got they're bringing
Food,
food and you
everything.
know everything to the house. Let me lift up your feet. Let me, you know, including the woman in the household. Let the woman of the
Mm-hmm.
household be
Mm-hmm.
sick. You're
Yep.
going to get people still coming over, giving you food and things, but there's going to be expectations still
Expectations. That's
on
good.
her to be the mother and to be the wife, and doesn't get that break, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know
Mm-hmm.
you women out there can give me a hey, hey, hey. So
Right.
here's some of the questions out that you ask in your SOAR research.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so how do you define the strong Black woman concept? And a
Yeah.
couple of the answers were no complaining and no crying.
Yep.
Like that is powerful. That is, when you
Yep.
see that, that's hurtful, right to the heart, to
Mm-hmm.
think that someone's thinking that they have to be so strong they can't complain and they can't cry through a diagnosis and a
Yep.
journey of cancer. And then you ask, do you think that others, such as your family, your friends, or your medical team, expect you to be a strong Black woman during your cancer journey? And many of them said yes. And this one, I love this quote here. She said, I was told, you know, just straight out, we can't save your breasts. They're no good. And she says, well, maybe I showed too much strength
Yep.
because I got really no compassion
Mm-hmm.
from the medical team,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So talk a little bit about the impact of that strong Black woman in the exam room talking to the doctor,
Yeah.
and how that strong Black woman can oftentimes result in less care, um, less options and opportunities for
Mm-hmm.
care.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Donna, for raising those questions, and bringing them to the forefront. And you know, some of the women also said that they went in, because they were so strong. Their doctor said, we didn't think you needed support because, you know, you just came
Mm,
in so strong. And, you know, I challenge and push back and say, was it because you came in so strong, or was it because you didn't completely fall apart and, you know, you possibly probably came in alone and they didn't give you an opportunity to not be strong, because you are
mm,
always fighting for yourself in that room, right? I mean,
mhm,
I've been in that room. I've heard those words, you have cancer. And if anybody on the line has ever been diagnosed with cancer before, after you hear those words, Dr. Donna, it's womp, 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 womp. You don't hear anything else. And so
mm,
what
mhm,
we do is we course correct, right? Because we experience trauma all the time, right? And we course correct and then we handle it. And so then that gives the doctors this false perception of how we actually, will be navigating the cancer journey. And so
mhm,
the sister that said, you know, no complaining, no crying, that came from her family. They were
mm,
like, you cannot cry. We are going to beat this thing. There's going to be no complaining, no crying. And so, and Dr. Donna, with people of faith, I think that the strong Black woman syndrome shows up even greater. We are kind of pulling out some of the spirituality components of the research right now, but I will say that because so many times we give it to God. We're not claiming that. God said this, God said that. And we just put a band aid on it. And we got strong Black woman and we got an unrealistic expectation of God, because we then are directing God on how God is going to heal us. You know, that is up to
mhm,
God, how God will heal all of us. But in our strong Black woman, we put on this mask and we put on blinders and we just plow through. You know, one
mm,
woman broke my heart when we asked her to define the strong Black woman in her own words. She said, we do, and we do, and we do, and we do, and we keep on doing until we have
mm.
nothing left and we can't do no more. Those
Mm,
were her words, right? And
mm,
so in
right.
academia looks at the strong Black woman and talks about facets such as prioritizing caring for others over self-care,
Mm-hmm.
doing more with fewer resources, not knowing how to say no.
Mm,
And the list goes on with all of these elements that we all can resonate with, right? Because if we had
right.
started this whole call and said, everybody in the chat, pop in the chat, who is a strong Black woman? Every woman, every Black woman on there would have said, I'm a strong Black woman. I'm a strong Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Right.
conversely, there is a beautiful positive element of that, because you started this show so beautifully, standing on the shoulders of your mother, standing on the
Mm-hmm.
shoulders of your loved ones who help drive you, who are the ancestors that are guiding you now today. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful side of being a strong Black woman, right? That is
Right.
saying, I'm going to take what makes me who I am and stand with pride and navigate life the way I saw them navigate life. And what we have to do is also look at some of the unhealthy behaviors that
Yes.
our ancestors had, that caused so much pain in your mom, my grandma, your
Mm-hmm.
grandma. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about this pain. And so
Right.
looking at this whole concept of being a strong Black woman, what we have found on the second part of the research is that in 2019, we did the gatherings across California. Then we had COVID 2020 and 2021. And in 2022, we've gone back to revisit some of the women that took part in the first round of the research. And what we have found is that being part of that research gave them what they needed to actually navigate COVID. They cried,
Mm,
they asked for help, they talked
mm,
about being triggered because COVID, how we had to, live during COVID was
right.
reminiscent of when you're going through a cancer diagnosis. A lot of us didn't
Right.
wear masks, but we isolated. We didn't let folks come in. We limited our activities and
Right.
all of those things. And so they talked about the triggers that came along with COVID, but being part of Project SOAR gathering gave them tools that were necessary to have them say no. And one woman said that she had gotten into an argument with her family because she was telling them no, and they were asking her, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And so what she had discovered in therapy was that her family thought that crying was abnormal because they had never seen her cry before. They were
Mm,
used to her being angry. And so when we look at Black people and strong Black women, we don't have access to all of the emotions that God gave us
right.
because we stuff them. And
Right.
we either show up great or we show up angry.
Mm.
And
So let's talk about
yeah.
what we can do, right?
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
we know that this strong Black woman, we take the good part of it is the resilience that we
mhm,
have as Black women. And we
mhm.
needed that strength. We need
Yeah,
that strength
we
to
do.
navigate this racist society. So we
Mhm.
need to be strong.
Yeah.
But when we're battling or going through something that like cancer or
Mhm,
another chronic illness,
mhm.
um, give us like maybe 2 or 3 pointers
Yeah.
that you think women can do to help turn off that superwoman when they're going through something, to allow themselves peace of mind
Mhm, mhm.
um, while they're going through something like cancer.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that question, because one of the things that I kind of have coined this phrase is permission granted, right?
Mm,
Permission
mhm,
granted to say no, permission granted to ask for help,
mm,
permission granted to receive help. Dr. Donna, we have financial resources for Black women who are navigating cancer. And when I know that a woman is going through cancer, I will ask her, hey, do you need any support? You know what they say? They say,
mm,
well, no, give it to someone else. I'm sure someone else needs it. And so I say, do you need it? And I was like, because this is the truth. White women, Asian women, Hispanic women, they will come get it. They have zero shame coming to ask for these dollars. And we can't discriminate,
Right.
So we have to give the dollars. And so when they're gone, the Black women are becoming homeless. They have $2,000 and $3,000 electric bills.
Wow.
They are losing their cars. We had a sister who had paid 59 of 60 car payments. She was going through chemo. No, I'm sorry, 58 of 60 car payments. She missed the 58th car payment. On the 59th car payment, the car company called her and said, if you do not pay, we're coming to get this car. She had made 58 of 60 car payments, and they were going to repo her car. And when we talked about, we could help her, she was like, oh, that's too much money. I don't want to take it away from somebody else. So, receiving, learning how to receive. I think you modeled that so beautifully earlier when I gave you the compliment. You didn't say, oh, girl, no. You said, well, thank you. And we're not used to that, right? We're not used to people celebrating us. So allow people to love you. We're on this Celebration of Life tour. There was a lady that at one of the events, and these people were giving her all of her accolades, and she kept trying to run away. And I grabbed her hand and I held her and I said, just receive. Just receive. And it's hard for us to do that. We have been taught that if we ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. How many times did you grow up with when something happened in the household and it's like, what goes on in this house stays in this house? Don't you tell anybody we don't have any food? Don't you tell anybody that we, ABCXYZ? And so we don't ask for help. That strong Black woman syndrome says, I will make a way out of no way. And I with God by my side. And God said, girl, I ain't had you fight that hard. I didn't tell you that this was your struggle. I didn't say you weren't going to have a struggle, but this is not it, sis. You're doing that on your own. Right. So asking for help and permission granted.
Permission granted.
Yeah. Yes. Say no.
Yes. I love it. Yes. I've been learning. I did a talk last weekend and I said, I am a recovering superwoman. I'm trying to recover from being a superwoman because it is draining and it is unhealthy. And when you don't put yourself first, then your body feels it. So thank you for that. Okay, so my last question for you before we let you go. This has been such a great discussion. I could talk to you all night.
Thank you.
But I want to give you any final words, any final thoughts. Like, what do you want women who are going through this journey or are about to go through this journey or even hoping to prevent them from going through this journey? What is it? What do you have to say to the women out there? And ladies, if you have a question for Reverend Tammy, this is the time to ask. So put your questions in the chat. So yes, lots of comments here. But what are your final words and thoughts?
I think my final words is you are worthy. To all my sisters out there, you are worthy. You are worthy of an abundant life. You're worthy of all the things that God promised. And, in some areas, they say we can prevent cancers. In some other places, they say we can't prevent cancer. But what we know is that cancer is here. And until there's a cure, people are still going to be getting cancer. And when you can get early detection, it gives you better chances at life. Get centered, get grounded. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about God these days. I'm going to tell you, you better connect to your higher power, because I know when stuff got rough for me, it was nothing but God that saved me. It was nothing but God that sustained me. There were times that the journey got so difficult. I begged God, please, God, just take me. because this is too much for me to bear. And God wrapped his arms around me and comforted me. And when we look at that Superwoman, I say, take that Superwoman cape off of saving everybody and wrapping it around yourself like a blanket and allowing yourself just permission to be healed and be free from all of the trauma and all of the stress. Ask for help, receive the help, and fight for your life the way God does, because God fights for us every single day. God's forgiveness, God's unconditional love. Fight for your life the way God does.
All right. Amen. I love that. So you've got lots of compliments on those earrings.
Oh. Yes.
And
These are from a local artist here in Sacramento. Her name is Ebony London. Go to her website, ebonylondon.com. She's got some phenomenal art on that website, and she calls this ear art.
All right. I love it. Well, lots of appreciations and claps for you.
Bless God.
And I just thank you so much for just the work that you're doing. As a reminder, your organization is called Carrie's Touch, and it's carriestouch.org, right?
Correct. Yeah. May I jump in and say one last thing, Dr. Donna?
Of course.
So this is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And a lot of people ask me, who is Carrie? And when I tell them that she's my mom, and they find out that she's no longer with us, they think that she died from breast cancer. But in fact, she died at the hands of her abuser. So I take this opportunity to raise awareness around a very serious issue just worldwide and in the Black community today. There are a lot of people who are suffering. Love shouldn't hurt. Find a safe place to develop a plan to get out safely, because God loves you too and does not want you to suffer at the hands of an abuser.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Tammy.
Thank you.
Carrie's Touch, carriestouch.org. Amazing organization, amazing woman. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to meet you so many years ago, and we've stayed in touch.
Likewise.
So thank you for being a part of Talking with Dr. Donna. And now you are a part of our Generational Health Network, where we are building health every single generation to generation. So thank you, Reverend Tammy.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. All right. So don't forget, thank you so much for keeping your appointment tonight on Talking with Dr. Donna. We're just going to do our food of the month. Yeah, give it up for Reverend Tammy. She's amazing, amazing, amazing woman. So this October, we have a new food of the month, and I thought it would be nice. I don't know which slide's coming up. Oats. Awesome. That's an inside joke between me and Elisita. So yes, oats is our food of the month this month. And oats are amazing, right? High in fiber, high in antioxidants to help battle things like cancers, help to lower your bad cholesterol, helps with inflammation in your body, contains a ton of vitamins, helps to lower your blood pressure, keeps your GI tract fit. Oats, you can eat them in lots of different ways. You don't have to just eat them for breakfast and oatmeal. And actually, some studies show that if you have oats at night, because it has a lot of properties that help you to relax, that you actually can go to sleep faster if you have oats and oatmeal prior to going to sleep. So you might want to try that instead of, some gummies. Oatmeal. So have some oatmeal. Let's try some oats. You can do some oatmeal cookies. You can try dry oats in your yogurt. You can do oatmeal. So let's just try to have some fun this month with oats, recognizing that every time you eat oats, it is going to be helpful for your body. Put them in a smoothie. Carmen says, yes, awesome. So whatever you do, take a picture of it, post it on our page so we know exactly what exciting, interesting things you're coming up with to do and deal with oats for this month, okay? All right. As always, I thank you and appreciate you for keeping your appointment with the doctor tonight. We have an appointment every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as Reverend Tammy just told us, it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So make sure that you share the information tonight with someone, and make sure that you remind and be nice and kind to yourself, recognizing that you are not a superwoman, and being a strong Black woman means knowing when you need help. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for keeping your appointment. And until next week, take care of yourself and your families. On Talking with Dr. Donna, we focus on 4 pillars of health to help build a generational health network to end the cycle of premature death in the Black community. I created Talking with Dr. Donna as a way to educate as many people as possible and give accurate information from a trusted physician. Go to Talking with Dr. Donna and get accurate information. And then share that information with your family. It was small enough. I could have. And if you like I had my whole little. Like my channel and subscribe. I was ready. Remember, every Thursday, keep your appointment with Dr. Donna.